Ooh, that was kind of nice.
Welcome everyone! This is Dom, and we are in space in Kerbal Realism. Episode 12? Maybe? Not sure. It's been quite a while since I've actually played this game. Let's take a look at the map where we are. We start in space this time round to basically bring Goosley back home. I went on a mission off camera to the moon, and we are heading back to Kerbin, which is... Where's Kerbin? Where's the moon? Where's Kerbin? Kerbin! There you are. Cool. Yeah, so we're approaching Kerbin to re-enter the atmosphere and bring him home as safe as we possibly can. Now, the point of this mission was to do quite a few things for this contract. First of all was just to plant a flag on the moon and do various surveys and such that we took 3 episodes to do last time. I will be doing this occasionally, be doing a lot of things off camera. Now, what's interesting about this episode is that I have already recorded it past tense from this point on. So, and I didn't put any voice to it. So basically, I did a mission when I was in a busy part of my week. Kind of took about 20 minutes here and there to plan the mission out, build the vessel, and shoot it off. Now, since we are just about to get closer here, I want to ditch this bottom stage here. As you can tell, we're using the 2.5 meter parts, and we have a little set of science here, which actually doesn't have anything in it right now. None of these science containers or anything have anything in it. The only one that does, that I haven't messed with yet, would be that one. Well, I could use that. Ooh, let's go back down there, please. Why did I get flung off into space? I have remembered that I can pull all of the science out of these containers and stuff like that instead of having to re-enter the parts. Even though they are quite expensive, most of them, I don't really mind the loss because I have made a bunch of monies from doing a few contracts, so I don't mind that at all. And we're getting a little bit close here, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a nice little re-entry. So yeah, what is the episode that we are going to be seeing today? Well, we have been to Minmus, past tense, of course. You will be seeing this Minmus probes over there very, very soon. Once we do this re-entry, of course. I've actually had a couple comments telling me that I should definitely be doing re-entries, and I don't mind doing them. Because they are pretty. Quite pretty. Cool. I'm just going to go ahead and burn this. Mostly because it reduces my speed upon re-entry. And I'm going to need that for survivability purposes, basically. Ooh, let's get a better view. So yeah, bringing Goosley home. He went on a mission to collect a bunch of science and complete a bunch of contracts for us. What happened? Oh, okay. I can keep burning. Yeah, so that's basically was his goal for today, for this mission specifically. We just needed a bunch of science and monies to progress further, and we've already done a bunch of, 3 episodes of the moon mission, so I didn't want to have to do that on camera. Also, getting Goosley up a level is very, very important for me right now, because I have our only other pilot on the space station as of right now. So same thing as last time. I'm going to go ahead and just jettison this bottom part here. So bye-bye. Let's point ourselves toward retrograde. There we go. That will just burn up in the atmosphere. I don't really plan on recovering it. And we are going to be re-entering into the sun. So that's fun. Keep going, keep going. So yeah, we needed a bunch of monies, and I've gotten a bunch since then. There's about 800k in reserves right now that we have. Let's turn that off so we can swing into that position towards retrograde. And Goosley should come home safely. Now, what you're going to see is probably sped up footage, because I haven't edited it yet. Sped up footage. That didn't sound good. Something exploded. Hey, we're landing in the same spot we did last time. There's the Florida Peninsula. Well, that's cool. Yeah, so we're going to see sped up footage probably of the mission to Minmus. Basically, the point of that mission was to scan the surface and basically allow me to do all of my resource scans and stuff, which I found out later I had to update the version of ScanSat that I was using, because none of the resources were showing up from the carbonite mod. Oh wait, no, let's do this. Let's spin him around. Bloop. There we go. So you can see the sun as he descends. You really can't see the sun, so there we go. And descending, parachute opens, and you should bring all of this beautiful, beautiful science home, along with his safety, and hopefully a level up, so that I can point him towards a node or prograde or whatever, like we can do with Jeb. Great feature, training these guys up. So yeah, recovering this guy, and then we will take a look at the old footage. And welcome back to the launch pad, guys. Today we are launching off the Minmus probe. The Minmus probe's basic duty is to get to Minmus and scan its surface. So here we go. Come on. There we go. So, why am I showing this in full motion? Previous me had said that we are going to be doing this in slow motion, or in fast, whatever. But that is not going to happen, mostly because I like the launches. The other reason is because I chopped up footage later on, and I had not said that before I edited the entire video. Like I said, I recorded this previously, but whatever. So, this thing was oriented incorrectly. We ended up doing just a spin there. And then we did a little bit of a tilt over. Using the flight computer from, I think Remote Tech adds that. That really, really helps my launches with unmanned craft. Actually, it helps my launches with manned craft if I'm allowed to use it. If it has a flight computer on the craft itself. Now, it's a relatively nice little launch, but inside the fairing, from procedural fairings, we have a probe set for Minmus. Now, this probe comes in 2 stages. As we just go ahead and tilt over just a little bit more, there we go. The probe comes in 2 stages. There's going to be a main orbital stage, which will continuously orbit Minmus, both for communication and for scanning the surface for resources, altitude, all those kinds of things. I think there are 3 instruments on that main probe that can conduct those kinds of experiments and science gathering stuffs. And the other probe was kind of an impactor, is the best way for me to explain it, to impact the... Aww, I forgot about that. That's not fun. It's only about $3 grand. The impact the Minmus surface to collect science on it. Not really meant to impact, but to land, and then transmit the science back. Now, this is to satisfy the standard go to this planet, take science from around it, take science from on it. And that's kind of the point for this mission. Now, the reason why I wanted to complete this one soon is because I want to go to Minmus soon and continue my goal that we had last episode, or not episode, season, of building a base on Minmus and around Minmus to use it as our base of operations as an outpost for future exploration of the solar system. Now, getting this guy into orbit is our first step. And past this, we are going to need a lot of money, a lot of resources, and a lot of science. So that's the reason why I've been doing a couple of other missions in between. So we're going to get a nice close-up look at this in a few minutes here of the actual probe itself. But in the meantime, I want to show you guys, or talk to you guys about the actual systems that it's going to be using. Now, mainly for propulsion on it, we are going to be using the monopropellant. So we're going to be using the monopropellant engines. They are very, very efficient for a extremely light craft. like the probe is. Now, our main concern when orbiting a planet would be probably electricity at the distance that we're going to be. So our orbit around it is going to be 100,000, if I remember correctly. So 100-kilometer orbit around the surface for optimal efficiency. Here comes our orbital burn here. Planning that out and putting it in the flight computer is my favorite part of this mod. You can just hit node execute. There we go. Then the flight computer will point the there goes node. There we go. It should point, there we go, pointing the rocket at the node itself, and then it will automatically execute the burn as needed. Make sure you don't modify the burn at all post, setting it up and pushing to execute. So basically what happened is we sent a command. Here goes the fairings. There we go. And here is the probe. We're going to get a much closer look at this a little bit later to look at all the subsystems, but for now I'm extending the omnidirectional antennas. Those will be able to communicate with Kerbin while we're orbiting it for now, because the short-range antenna that's mounted to the body of the rocket is not very good for these applications. Now there's two antennas, one for the main orbiting probe, and then one that will be communicating between the impactor and the main orbiting probe. I'm kind of stole this idea from, I think it's called Deep Impact, I forget. The one that hit the comet that NASA did. Now, here goes the solar panel. Solar panel is going to extend. Hopefully we keep our electricity up. It's kind of a main goal for us right now. That's an issue I had in previous missions, as you guys remember. And we're doing our burn automatically to get ourselves in orbit. The main probe is everything from the monopropellant tank, the lower monopropellant tank, and up, basically. So it is capable of communicating to Kerbin and also having a very, very large range with its omnidirectional antenna for anything that's orbiting Minmus to communicate back with. So we're going to be using that system to ping messages to our impactor. So here we are, orbiting Kerbin. I have set up the transfer burn, which is automatically going to happen now. We are transferring to Minmus. Minmus is at a little bit of an angle, which I had set up. I did a small burn off camera here, set up to put ourselves at the correct inclination. There goes our first stage. That will be space junk forever. And then we have the rest of our transfer stage here with a little LV909 engine. And of course, we're extending our Apple apps out to touch the Minmus sphere of influence there. Hopefully we get it out to far enough on this burn. Anyways, so we're just about to look at the systems here. As you can tell, mounted at the top of the probe are two basically camera things. Those will be doing resource scans for us by ScanSat, which I actually had to update because I noticed they were not working correctly in the version that I had installed. They are working correctly now, and we will be looking at them, the scans, next episode, of course. And here we go. We are now in Minmus's grasp. We are going to do a small burn that is going to push ourselves into a polar orbit. Now, the reason for this is so that every single time we go around Minmus, we get basically a top-to-bottom scan. And then since we're orbiting at a duration that's less than its actual day, I guess, we are going to be able to scan the entire surface. So here we are at the pole of Minmus doing our capture burn. This will make sure that we are in a nice little capture around Minmus. Here we go. And Minmus now has us in its grasp. I'm going to do a little bit of finagling and tweaking of that orbit off camera to put ourselves in a 100,000 by 100,000 meter orbit, perfectly circular orbit around Minmus, so that we can have the optimal conditions for our sensors, which operate best at those heights. And there they are. There's our nice perfect orbit there. Now, we are just about to look at the top and bottom stage in detail. Top and bottom probes in detail. They're actually stacked one on top of the other. Here we go. With a decoupler that is going to be separating the fuel from below us. Here it goes. Oh, wait, I didn't do that. I'm doing this post-commentary, of course. And the top stage has, like I had said, all of those sensors and the communication on it. We're just about to open up our planetary survey camera. The detection array from carbonite, and of course the altimetry sensor from ScanSat as well. All three of those will be used to scan the surface of Minmus in the polar orbit. And we're going to take a look at the small map right now. The small map is a kind of a actively updating version, less detail, and you can't select anything on it, of this big map that we're going to see and populate and see it in the next episode. With a nice full view of Minmus with all the resources and hopefully planning out a place for us to build a stationary base on the surface of Minmus. And this is one of the reasons why I brought it. Now, the other reason is because we can send these scans back to Kerbin as science, so we can use them for our contract. Now, here we go. We're going to go ahead and decouple the bottom stage. Now, this is going to cause some little bit of issues with our orbit, since they're quite a light craft at this point, and that's quite a powerful decoupler, so it actually threw us off our orbit slightly. This top stage, which is I was not expecting to have to modify too much or move around too much, doesn't have a Kerbal Engineer Kerbal Engineer subsystem on it, so it does not tell me its orbital statistics in the top next to the altimetry up there, as you've seen in most of my videos. And I'm trying to figure out, oh, there it goes. I'm like, my motors aren't firing. My motors aren't firing. I want to fire my motors. And I figured out they were not staged correctly, so I have to activate them all individually. These are the monopropellant engines. They're extremely efficient for what I'm going to be using them for, and I have an entirely too much amount of delta V for what I would be using them. Now, I want to get about, like I said, 100,000 by 100,000. It doesn't need to be perfect, but I eventually get it to be just about perfect. And as you can tell in the top left of the screen, the ScanSat is still running. Now, that is just altimetry we're seeing there. So the different darker shades are just higher and lower points on the surface. Just a little bit of a burn here. Now, because we are in constant contact with Kerbin right now, because it's facing us, or the surface is facing us. There we go. Cool. Getting ourselves in a nice, almost perfectly circular orbit. Whenever you see that swing that they do, when the apoaps and periaps swing like that, back and forth, you know that you're just about perfectly circular. So 102 kilometers, that's excellent. So yeah, since Kerbin's facing us, I decided to jump to the Impactor, and bring him back down to the surface. But as you can tell, that green line that's pointing back to Kerbin is the antenna from the main probe, not from this probe itself. This omnidirectional antenna doesn't have that kind of range. I was having issues with positioning it, and I think it has to do with the fact that we were attached to the main probe earlier. So what I did is I went back to Kerbin and jump back into this probe using the satellite dishes there. Now here we are. After that point, we are going to position ourselves in the retrograde. Since we are still in communication, we can do all of these moves actively without having to pre-program in a node. So we are in full control with a slight delay because of the distance. And here we go. We're going to burn just ever so slightly. I forgot to bring up the bottom there. Burn just ever so slightly so that we bring down our periaps to the Minmus surface. There we go. I had to activate the engines. This time they were staged correctly, though. Bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. Cool. And we are going to try to land on the sun side. Now, the reason for that is I would rather have electricity whenever I'm trying to send a signal back to the main probe. Boop, boop, boop. Cool. Descending, and as you can tell, we lose communication. Now, I don't notice this until right about now, and I also did not slow time down. So I'm trying to hastily figure out why, because we're facing Kerbin, and too late. It crashes. That's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.